Welcome everyone to our third Montessori Roundtable. And before we begin the meeting, I just want to give some brief instructions to our Spanish speaking families on how to access the translation for tonight. Buenas noches. Estas instrucciones son para todas nuestras familias que prefieren escuchar la presentación en español. En la parte baja de su pantalla pueden ver un icono que tiene como un mundo chiquito y dice interpretación. Entonces, si pueden hacer clic, por favor, en ese mundo chiquito, y luego les va a aparecer la opción de español. Entonces, hay que hacer clic en español. Y de esa manera, ustedes van a escuchar a Ruthie, que nos está haciendo favor de traducir esta noche. Ella les va a dar toda la presentación en español. Van a ver la pantalla que está usando Gaby, la presentadora, pero van a ver escrita la traducción en español y Ruthie les va a traducir todo lo que se diga además de la presentación. Si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor, mándenme el mensaje en chat y yo les puedo ayudar a accesar la interpretación. Gracias. Sí tenemos familias que están necesitando interpretación en español. A ver, levanten la mano. Okay. Okie dokie. Well, I was just giving instructions to our Spanish-speaking families on how to... Oh, Nelda. Nelda, ¿necesita que le repita las instrucciones?
No, está bien, solamente necesito la interpretación en español, ¿verdad? Pero todo lo demás lo escucho. Gracias.
Sí. Bueno, de nada. Okay. Well, again, welcome. I see that some of you that have joined us for other Montessori roundtables before, that's great, welcome back. And for those who are joining us for the first time, these roundtable events are a collaborative effort among Liberated Children's House, Montessori Children's House and School, White Rock Montessori School, and Lumen Education. So tonight, our small Montessori village comes together once again to share, to learn, and to reflect upon important aspects of child development. And we do this because every single one of us here tonight knows on some level that the quality of care and education our children receive today will determine the quality of care they will give to themselves, to others, and to the world as they become adults. Every childhood experience is fuel for brain development and is equally important in helping the children develop those building blocks for what will become your child's emotional roadmap. And they will use this roadmap to engage in and navigate through every relationship in their life. Parenting, that constant interaction and connection with our children, is the most influential and determinant factor in the way our children go about the cosmic task of shaping their brains, their hearts, and their unique personalities, and creating that emotional GPS that will help them feel safe, capable, and responsible. And I'm going to give Ruthie a couple of moments to translate that. Now, tonight's presenter, our very own play therapist and counselor, Gaby Glidden, will give us an introduction to the 4 parenting styles and what each one of them brings to our children's development. I'm going to ask you to write any questions that you have in the chat box during the presentation. We will have a short Q&A session at the end, and any questions we don't have time to answer tonight, we will answer via email in the next few days. And if you prefer to submit your question anonymously, there is when you click on that button of Q&A at the bottom of your screen, you can choose for your question to be displayed as anonymous, and we will answer it. Nobody needs to know who asked that question. Or you can email me directly to charo.alarcon@lumeneducation.org. And Maggie, if you could write that in the chat box, that would be wonderful. And now I would like to invite you to watch, listen, and identify which of the 4 parenting styles you tend to use the most, and what aspects of the other styles would you like to incorporate into your own. So please help me welcome Gabby Glidden.
Hi, thank you, Charo. And so before we start the presentation, I just want to encourage everyone to go in with the mindset of how you can enhance what you're already doing to help strengthen your relationship with your child as we go through the 4 parenting styles, attachment, and some other attachment-based parenting approaches as well. So I'm going to share my screen for the presentation. Okay. So it is going to be going over positive parenting. So we're going to go over the 4 parenting styles, how they relate to attachment, parenting approach that you can use regardless of your core parenting style, and then hopefully some kind of main takeaways of after we go through all this information, tangible things that you can do of what's next. And so before we start on the parenting styles, I want to start off with a quote. So we are all imperfect parents, and that is okay. Our tiny humans need connection and not perfection. We are all going to make mistakes as parents, but it's not about what we did, but what we do after what we did. And that can help repair and connect with our child. And so there are 4 main parenting styles that we're going to go over in a little more detail, but they are permissive, authoritative, uninvolved, and authoritarian. So each style we go over will have a quick video on kind of what a true parenting style from each category would look like. And often we are a mixture of parenting styles. Typically, we have a predominant style that we lean towards, but depending on our environment, what's going on in our home life, and just a number of factors, our parenting style changes. And so the first style that I want to go over is the permissive parent. This can really look like the parent who wants to be seen as the friend. Typically, they have little to no rules, and they provide almost too many choices for their child. They have a hard time saying no, and typically this is a style that's seen as full of freedom. And so there are some positives and some challenges to each parenting style. And so if you lean in one parenting style or the other, I want you to feel encouraged that there are always some positives in each of the styles. And so a positive for the permissive parent is typically they have a very nurturing relationship with their children. The reasoning behind it can always vary, but sometimes it's because they don't want to hurt the child's feelings. Another positive to this style is it often leads to open lines of communication. So with this style, children often feel like they can go to their parent and talk to them and see them almost more as a friend than a parent. Some challenges that you might run into from this style are a lack of discipline. This can create kind of a lack of discipline from the parent, having a harder time wanting to implement discipline and consequences and boundaries. Another thing that this parenting style can contribute to is a lack of emotional development in the child. And few boundaries can be overwhelming for the child. If kids don't really know where those boundaries and those buffer zones are, then they have a really hard time kind of navigating what they can and can't do in other situations where maybe that's not always the case. This style can also contribute to a lack of problem solving in kids because typically they get what they want. And so then when they have a problem, they aren't as equipped to handle it as some other kids would be. And so here's a quick video on what a true permissive parent might look like.
I know, Angel. We're doing the best we can. I've got every girl on the bleeding staff hunting for you.
All right, where is it? Why haven't they found it?
Faruka, sweetheart, I'm not a magician. Give me time.
Oh, listen to those twats down there.
For 5 days now, the entire flipping factory's been on the job. They haven't shelled a peanut in there since Monday. They've been shelling flaming chocolate bars from dawn to dusk.
Make them like knights.
Come on, you guys, put a trap in it before you get it. Fancy golden ticket. It's a $1,000 ticket.
They're not even trying. They don't want to find it. They're jealous of me.
Sweetheart, I can't push them no harder. 19,000 bars an hour they're shelling. 760,000 they've done so far.
You promised, Daddy. You promised I'd have them free for the stay.
You're going to be very unpopular around here, Henry, if you don't deliver soon.
It breaks my heart, Henrietta. I hate to see her unhappy.
I won't talk to you ever again. You're a rotten father. You'll never get me once. I won't go to school till I have it.
Faruka, sweetheart, Angel. Now, there are only 4 tickets left in the whole world, and the whole ruddy world's hunting for them. What can I do?
The audio just stopped playing, Gabby.
Okay, and so from that video, you can really see, even though the father was trying to do everything he could to make his daughter happy, it wasn't enough. She still wasn't happy until her needs were met. And so that can be really hard on the parent and on the child because the requests just get bigger and bigger without having those boundaries or those limitations. And so the next style is the authoritarian parent. This can kind of be exemplified by this phrase of "because I said so." Parents in this authoritarian style tend to have strict rules and they can be very rigid. Some positives of this are they tend to have clear boundaries and consequences. So children in this who have this style of parent tend to know what to expect. And another positive, it can be really good for safety concerns. So there are some non-negotiable safeties where the parents not having to kind of sit down and be like, oh, well, what do you think? Or what do you want to do? Because when there is a safety issue, then we really don't have time to communicate and talk about it if there's kind of a challenge kind of in the forefront. Some challenges that you might see with this parenting style are it can also contribute to a lack of emotional development in the child. It can also contribute to more rebellious children later on. They start pushing back on more of the rigidness and all of the rules if they don't have that explanation of, well, this is why we have this rule, and kind of having that understanding. Another challenge is that it can create inflexible reasoning and problem solving. So with this parenting style as well, kids, if they don't really know why rules are in place, they just know they have to follow them. When there are other challenges, then they start emulating what they've kind of been taught of, well, it's more of do as I say instead of a conversation. So this is another video of what a true authoritarian parent might look like.
No music. No music.
Show me what you got, muchacho. I'll be your first audience.
Miguel! Abuelita, what are you doing here?
Leave my grandson alone. Doña, please. I was just getting a sound. I know your tricks, mariachi. What did he say to you?
He was just showing me his guitar.
Shame on you. My grandson. Sweet little angelito, perito, cielito. Mariachi, you keep away from him. Ay, pobrecito. ¿Cómo estás bien, mijo? You know better than to be here in this place. You will come home now.
How many times have we told you? That plaza is crawling with mariachis.
Yes, Tio Berto.
No. Go away, you. Go.
It's just Dante.
Never name a street dog. They'll follow you forever. Now, go get my shoe. You want to end up like that man? Forgotten? Let off your family's ofrenda.
I don't care if I'm on some stupid ofrenda.
Ah. There. No guitar, no music.
Okay, so from that video, you can already kind of see the little boy pushing back against the rules and having that rebellion where he wanted to play music and he didn't understand why he couldn't. And so that kind of led him to start pushing back against the family values of not caring if he was on the family's ofrenda or not, because his goal was very different from the grandmother's, but she wasn't communicating the reasoning behind why she had the no music rule or expectation. And so the next parenting style is the uninvolved parent. This can really be seen as kind of the I don't care, or almost like a free-for-all. So often in this style, there are too many choices and too much freedom. And this can also contribute to little to no relationship between the parent and child. And oftentimes that it forces the child to become almost like an adult very quickly, which can lead to stress later on. This style also typically has little to no discipline or communication. And so it's mostly like, I guess, a parallel relationship where the kid's doing their own thing and the parents are doing their own thing, is a good way to describe this style. And with this, it can often create a lack of trust in the world and in the child. So the child might be left feeling like, can I trust the world? Can I trust myself? And so here's a video of what a true uninvolved parenting style might look like.
The Wormwoods were so wrapped up in their own silly lives that they barely noticed they had a daughter. Had to take care of herself. As time went by, morning, Matilda's older brother Michael went to school. Her father and her mother took off to play bingo.
Soup's on the stove. Heat it up if you get hungry.
Matilda was left alone. Night, she got up her courage and asked her father for something she desperately wanted. A book? What do you want a book for?
To read.
To read? Why would you want to read when you got the television set sitting right in front of you? There's nothing to get from a book that you can't get from the television faster.
Wait.
She saw that whatever she needed in this world, she'd have to get herself.
So from that video, you can really see that the little girl realized that she had to do it all on her own, that she couldn't really rely on her parents for any, to meet any of her needs, any physical, emotional needs. She had to kind of look out for herself. And so this next parenting style. This next parenting style is the authoritative parent. And this can really be looked at as let's talk about it. Parents in this style tend to be flexible and understanding, and it also leads the child to feel heard and understood. So some positives of this style are it oftentimes contributes to healthy relationships between the parent and child, and also the child with other relationships, if it's relationships with friends or relatives or other adults that they come in contact with. Another positive is that it leads to confident kids. So kids who know what to expect, kids who feel like they have a say in what's going on.
You want to be beautiful for animals too, and I want to be Miss Gabby.
And it can often lead to having compromising skills and problem-solving skills. And so those are some of the positives of the authoritative parent. A challenge is that this parenting style, it takes a lot of work on the parent side, but also on the child's side. There's more of a mutual understanding and respect that goes along with this style, where you have to have that give and take in conversation. And sometimes that takes a lot longer than just because I said so, this is why we're doing this. And so here's a video of what a true authoritative parent might look like.
Ed, how did I cut my hand? I would never ruin Antonio's night. Is that really what you think?
What I think is that today was very hard for you.
It's, I was looking out for the family. And I might not be super strong like Luisa or effortlessly perfect like Señorita Perfecta Isabela, who's never even had a bad hair day, but whatever.
I wish you could see yourself the way I do. You are perfect. Just like this. You're just as special as anyone else in this family.
You just healed my hand with an arepa con queso.
I healed your hand with my love for my daughter, with her wonderful brain, big heart,
Stop.
full glasses.
Mama.
Ay, te amo, cosa linda.
I know what I saw.
Mira, my brother Bruno lost his way in this family. I don't want the same for you. Get some sleep. You'll feel better tomorrow.
And so from that parenting style, you can really see, even though the mom didn't always agree with what the daughter was doing or saying, she still met her with empathy and compassion, which is kind of one of the hallmarks of the authoritative parenting style. And so now we're going to go into attachment. And so regardless of your parenting style, we want to make sure you have a secure attachment with your child. And so there are more parenting styles that might be more conducive to creating a secure attachment with your child, but we are going to go over different ways to create that secure attachment regardless of your style. And so going over attachment just a little bit more, the goal of attachment is to provide protection in times of danger, and that could be perceived or actual danger for the child. And so creating a secure attachment really provides an internal working model for the child. They start to think of, can I trust others? Can I trust myself? And am I safe? And then attachment also facilitates exploration, curiosity, and learning. So if the child feels attached with their primary caregivers, then they're going to feel more comfortable and confident in exploring their world and learning new skills. And they're not afraid to make mistakes and kind of bounce back with that resiliency. Attachment also helps develop empathy. And the goal is to create a secure attachment style. And then kind of like what I said earlier is different styles of parenting are more conducive to creating a secure attachment style. But later on, we're going to go over just an attachment-based parenting approach where you can use that regardless of your parenting style. And so how do we create a secure attachment? Authoritative parenting style most often leads to secure attachment, but if that is not your predominant style, that does not mean you won't have a secure attachment with your child, but really looking at communicating those boundaries and expectations. When kids know what to expect and when they know where those boundaries are, it's a lot easier for them to have that secure attachment with their primary caregivers. But our attachment style is not static. It's going to change depending on a variety of home factors and what's going on internally with them, internally with you, and things like that. And so there are ways to create a secure attachment. And so 3 ways we're going to talk about are how to create a sense of attunement, balance, and coherence. And then also we're going to go over 4 conditions of attachment. And so starting with the ABCs of attachment, attunement is kind of the parent's ability to be aware of and respond to our child's needs. And so this is really meeting them where they are. Are we noticing kind of what they're feeling and how they're feeling things, and kind of stepping into their internal world? And this starts off with meeting their basic needs. Are they being fed? Are they getting enough sleep? Do they feel safe and warm? And are you filling their cup up with love? And this is also built through mutual respect, and that can be physical respect, emotional respect, and spatial respect. And then next is moving on to balance. And so your children kind of attain balance of their body, emotions, and states through attunement with you. So as long as you are calm, cool, and collected, they're going to pick up on that, and they're going to kind of integrate that into their internal systems and internal workings. And then coherence. So that sense of integration is acquired for your kids through your relationship with them. So if you have a loving and trusting relationship where they know what to expect from you, then they're going to be able to expand on that and know what to expect from the world. And even if the world is scary and challenges are going to happen, they're going to know they can come back to their attachment with you as a reference point. And so 4 conditions of showing up and creating that sense of safety and security for that secure attachment. So the 4 S's are safe, seen, soothed, and secure. So safe is making your child feel safe and protect them from a threat or source of fear. And this could be a real sense of threat, or it could be perceived. So if any of your kids have any phobias, of if they're scared of the dark, or they're scared of monsters under their bed, or they're, I don't know, scared of thunderstorms, that's meeting them where they're at with that compassion, where we don't want to dismiss their feelings, but work through that with them. And by making them feel safe, you're also making sure they feel seen. So that's attuning into their mental state to understand their inner life and noticing what's happening for them. So even if we're not afraid of thunderstorms, or we don't agree with how silly their fears might feel to us, for them it's very real. And so meeting them where they're at and seeing them for kind of where they are. And so soothe, are we able to soothe our child during times of distress? So once we are able to soothe them, kids can learn inner soothing. And so it's from that inner soothing with us, they can start regulating their own emotions and having more of that self-soothing ability. And then security. So that comes once those first 3 conditions are met, then that's going to help create that secure attachment. And then so we can implement these 4 S's at any time. It can be when our kids are struggling. It can be when they are enjoying in their successes, or when we're consoling them, disciplining them, or arguing with them. So regardless of kind of the state we're in with our children, we always want to kind of come back to these 4 conditions to make sure these are being met. Even if we are angry with our child, we can still show our, I guess, disagreements, but still meeting these conditions of making sure they're feeling safe, seen, and soothed. And so the next thing we're going to go over is PACE. And so it stands for play, acceptance, curiosity, and empathy. And so this is an attachment and brain-based parenting approach, and it's an effective way for parents and caregivers to communicate with and to care for their children. And it also helps establish a sense of safety and trust. And so using this kind of parenting approach, it allows us to focus on the whole child rather than just their behavior. It also allows for us as adults and the children to reflect upon themselves, their thoughts and feelings, and kind of start working through that internal framework. And it also helps develop secure attachments with adults in that child's world. And so the P is for playfulness. Playfulness can diffuse a lot of conflict, and having more of a playful environment, it has a greater influence on a child's behavior than rewards, punishment, or anger-based discipline. Playfulness often helps a child feel safe. And so once the child is feeling safe and feeling like they are with a trusted adult, then they're more likely to let you into their internal world, to let you know what their thoughts and feelings and behaviors are going on. And then positive experiences also allow the child to develop feelings of self-worth. If they're not being shamed of, why did you do that? Or we don't do things that way. They're more likely to share more of what's going on with them. And so the next part is acceptance. And this is really that non-judgmental acceptance of the child. So we don't have to accept all behaviors of our children, but we want to accept them for who they are as a person. Behavior is a form of communication. And so we want to look at what is our child trying to tell us through their behavior. And so once we see that need and what they're trying to communicate, it's a lot easier to feel like we can accept the child rather than disapproving of a behavior. And so it's our job as parents to help the child trust in the world and know that even when things happen that aren't planned or unexpected or scary, that we are there with them and we are there to help support them through whatever challenges might arise. And then once a child feels accepted unconditionally, then they're going to be able to explore the world more fully and accept their own actions, feelings, and thoughts. The next one is curiosity. And so my goal for everyone here is just to stay curious. And so if we are curious about what the children are doing, then it also allows them to be more curious about reflecting on their own life. Curiosity also helps build an understanding on executive functioning. So they start learning more cause and effect. If I wonder, oh, what's going to happen this time when I pour my water out on the counter? Is it going to be the same thing that happened last time I did this, or is something different going to happen? So being curious allows for children and for us to help build on that executive functioning skill of cause and effect. Curiosity also helps make meaning of behaviors. It helps make meaning of other people's thinking and beliefs, and it helps with empathy. So if we are curious about, well, I wonder why that person celebrates that holiday or what makes this so special to them, it starts building on those values of empathy and just perspective taking. And being curious rather than angry can also encourage change. So instead of asking why did you do that? I would encourage everyone to be a little bit more curious of, I noticed that when I told you to clean up your room, you kept playing your game. Tell me what was going on for you. You're more likely to engage in a conversation when you ask for their feedback and their input instead of asking why, because typically when we ask why, they think we already know the reason, or we have an idea in our mind, and it might not match what was going on for them. And the E in PACE is empathy. And so this is us really changing our mindset of moving from what have they done to me to what are they trying to say to me. A lot of times we all have crazy lives going on. And so sometimes it feels like their misbehavior is, why are they giving me a hard time? Or why are they doing this to me? But instead, looking at their behavior of, what are they trying to tell me? With them screaming on the floor in the middle of Target, what are they trying to tell me? What are they needing from me? And so coming at it from an empathetic place, we start learning to understand the child's needs. We have to show them that we understand what they're going through and that we get it. And with empathy, we can also reduce shame, guilt, and isolation. So by showing I'm with you, not just by naming, oh, I can see you're sad, but really showing up for them and being with them in their emotions. Empathy also helps emotional regulation. So if we come at any behavior from more of an empathetic lens, it's also going to show our children how to regulate their own emotions by us co-regulating with them. And then when kids are overwhelmed by big emotions, it's our job to share our calm, not join their chaos. And so here's a quick video really going over the difference between empathy and sympathy.
So what is empathy and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
And so with all of this information, what now? So your parenting style is not static. It will change based on events and a variety of factors, but you tend to have a tendency towards one of the parenting styles. And with strategies, you can help create and maintain a secure attachment with your child, regardless of your core parenting style tendency. And so one thing I get a lot is, my kid's not listening to me. How do I make them listen to me? By using some of the strategies we've talked about, we create that line of communication, but also we're creating that line of expectations for our children as well. So listen with curiosity. We want to give them our full attention. Kids are going to pick up on if we're making dinner and they're really wanting to tell us what happened at school. If we're half listening, we're going to miss half of what they're trying to tell us. It's important to acknowledge their feelings and help them build that emotional vocabulary to name their feelings and what they're sensing in their body. And then engaging in cooperation. So having them be part of the conversation of describing what's going on for them and giving them information to help them connect those dots and make those cause and effect relationships. And then alternatives to punishment. So discipline means to teach, not to punish. So if we look at discipline from what lesson am I wanting to teach my child versus they did something that broke the rules and so now they need a consequence. And then encourage autonomy. So giving children choices. This doesn't mean a free-for-all for choices, but controlled choices of things that you're okay with. Will help them feel more independent and feel like they can do things on their own. And so some helpful reads and resources I like to give all of my parents are, if you are more into books, I would recommend How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk. There's also a book kind of on the same track, but it's geared towards little kids, and it's called How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen. Another book I recommend is The Power of Showing Up by Dan Siegel. No Drama Discipline by Dan Siegel. And if you're not a reader, they also have an app of How to Talk parenting tips. And that app you can use for, I think, iPhone and Android users. And then another book is just Parenting from the Inside Out. So really looking at how your parenting style can be flipped upside down if you're having challenges and you feel like nothing is working for you. And so that is all that I have. You're muted, Charlie.
Thank you. So thank you so much. This is great information, and I wish somebody had told me this 35 years ago when I was raising my children. And I'm sure they wish I had that information. But what is important that you have is that you have it tonight, that you have it at the beginning of your parenting journey. And I would like to invite you to make this evening your first step into examined parenting, because sometimes as we interact with our children and with the best intentions of providing for their needs, we end up just kind of replaying the same parenting that we were raised with. And sometimes that is a wonderful thing. And sometimes we want to tweak it a little bit, and we want our children to experience a different kind of parenting than the one we received. So tonight, we hope that with this information and with the understanding that you are doing the best you can with the information and the resources that you have, we are all operate from that paradigm. We hope that this new information and these new resources will help you reshape your best. And in order to explore these parenting styles that we might be using more often than not, let's split up in break rooms. We're going to have breakout rooms, and we would like you to choose which age group you want to join so we can continue to explore these parenting styles according to the age of your child. So we are going to have one breakout room for 0 to 6, so birth to 6, another one for ages 6 to 12, and another one in Spanish, if you prefer to have this conversation in Spanish. And to join the breakout rooms, please click on the little 3 dots on the right side of the bottom of your screen. And it's going to show up breakout rooms. And if you click on that, then you can choose the room that you would like to join. Thank you very much, and I will see you shortly. So we want to hear your questions. We know that this is a big topic and it's impossible to cover every scenario that could come up in one evening, but we do want to hear your questions. And like I said, write them on the Q&A. Maggie, do we have any questions?
We do not yet.
Okay. So does anyone have questions for Gabby? What is one thing that you would like to start practicing at home with your child after listening to this presentation and discussion? Who would like to share that? One thing that you would like to change or you would like to start doing that you weren't doing before?
Maybe rebuilding a bond.
Rebuilding a bond, yes. So what strategies from tonight's discussion are you going to use, Mariela?
Be more empathetic of them.
More empathetic, be curious, right? About why they're acting the way they are acting.
Yes.
Perfect. Who else would like to share what you're going to start doing or stop doing? Apologize more and ask for a moment when needed. Yes. And you know, when you apologize, that's a great opportunity to model for your child how to apologize. And it's not just sorry, 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 I yelled at you. It's, you know what, I would like to apologize because I know that I lost my cool. I was not very patient with you, and that was not the right way to respond. You know, raising my voice and using the words that I used was not helpful. And there are better ways of doing that, of, you know, communicating with you. And I will make sure that I calm myself down next time before I speak, you know, to redirect you or something. So explain, what is it that you're sorry for and what are you going to do differently later? Because the children are learning. That in itself is a lesson on grace and courtesy. Yes, behavior is communication, absolutely. Build in more time to be able to handle situations with more grace and less pressure.
There are two questions in the Q&A when you have a chance.
Sure. Let's see.
Roro, I can ask them for you.
Okay. Two primary caregivers. Yes. This is a real good question. How do you navigate situations when the two caregivers have very different parenting styles? Well, the adults need to come together and decide, you know, what is it that we want for our child? How are we going to give him an emotional roadmap that he can navigate, right? Because if mom, you know, dad is very strict, he wants the children in bed by 8 o'clock, and you know, he wants to make sure that they have 10 hours of sleep. And mom is like, oh, come on, we're having such a good time. You know, let them stay a little later today. It's okay. What that leads to is the child learning how to play one parent off the other. And they get in the habit of asking for second opinions every time the answer is not what they want. And my recommendation is that parents have a heart-to-heart chat and say, how are we going to handle this? How are we going to give consistent signals of where we want him to go, which direction we want him to take? Krista, what do you say? What would you recommend?
Well, you're absolutely right that there has to be conversation between the parenting partners. But I would also like to note that it's important to step back sometimes and really appreciate whatever that other person is bringing to the table. Here's an example. I had two parents, and the dad wanted for the child to be able to ride his bike in their little cul-de-sac, but the mother was concerned about the safety of that. Now, regardless of what happens with this one situation, what the mom wants to do is to keep her child safe. I mean, isn't that what we do as parents? We keep our children safe. What the father was trying to do is encourage his son to explore and to navigate his environment in a bigger way. Isn't that also an important part of life? Learning how to do that. And so regardless of what happens with this discussion and where they get to, the ability to step back and think about what is each parent really trying to accomplish, not just about this one thing with the bike, but about security and also exploration, and how important both of those are, and really appreciating that about each other. And I think that that gives a sense of respect to the other person. And there's also, I think, moments where you have to back your partner up, and sometimes you'll have to have that conversation at a later time. And I know it happens for us in the classrooms. Sometimes someone asks me to do something like, I don't know why we're doing this, but I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to back them up at this moment. And then later I'm like, oh, now I get why I did it. So we also want to be seen as a team and work together as a team. And again, work to figure out why in a way that builds respect.
Yes, absolutely. The host has spotlighted. Thank you, Krista. Who
I think
else
it was a question. Is that correct?
what is that?
Was there a second question, Maggie?
There is, but Charo, it's actually written in Spanish. Could you?
Yes, it's a comment. More than. Let me see. Where did it go? Oh, I lost my Q&A. Hold on. Let me close this and see if it'll come back.
I posted it in the chat box.
Yeah, I have it here. So this parent is telling us that it's important to understand that the parenting styles are not rigid, that not just because right now you are, you tend to use more one style than the other, that means you can never change. You can always change. And to also know that each parenting style has some benefits, and that this knowledge of the different parenting styles helps us reflect and try to do better, and try to improve whatever we are already doing. So that's, again, it's all about examined parenting, always being aware of the lessons that you are teaching directly or indirectly by the way you interact with your children, and always asking, what is the life lesson that I am teaching my child? And just because today you had, a rough day and you had to be the authoritarian parent in order to get things done because things needed to get done, that doesn't mean that you have to be that same parent tomorrow, right? So use the strategies that you need, because you are responsible for many things. It's not like in the classroom. The teacher in the classroom, that's what she does. Her job is to, teach these children, keep the environment just so that they can learn. And she's focused on that. You at home not just have to raise your child, you have to make sure the house is clean, the groceries are bought, the dinner is cooked, the laundry is done, the children are going to their appointments to the different doctors. So you have to do what you have to do to make all that happen. And your children need you to do all that, right? But that doesn't mean that you're always going to operate from that perspective, that I need to get things done, so your needs are secondary to mine, right? So keeping a balance, and always remember to reconnect, is what you do after you flipped your lid or did that thing that you regret. What you did after that is what matters, and it's what's going to nurture your relationship with your child, not perfection. Let me see, we have more questions. Anybody would like to make another comment, ask a question?
There's a new question in chat.
Let me see.
How can we find people? Yeah,
I
you've
beg
got
your
it. I was just going to read the question for you, but you've got it.
We have to also extend grace and courtesy to ourselves. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, we have to model that for the children, that we are all important, we all have needs. It's important that we take care of ourselves, because that's how they will learn to take care of themselves, right? How can we find people that grew up with a particular style and find out how they turned out? Any role models or suggestions? Yes, I don't know that, as adults, we can remember with precision how we were raised so that we can say, oh, I turned out this way. And, parenting is not an exact science. There are so many moving parts to parenting and to parenting strategies because it has to do with your temperament, your child's temperament, the way you were raised, the values that your family might have, your emotional state at the moment, your partner's emotional state at the moment. I mean, and these are all moving parts that are always changing. So beware of anyone that offers an universal, never failing solution to any one problem. It's a matter of just doing the best that you can and keep informed and act from that place of grace, courtesy, and love. And always try to teach lessons that are real and that are helpful in the real world. So I don't know if I answered that question. I will try to find more answers for you. Priscilla says sometimes can help be part of a community to see around and ask other parents or families, like the P3 program, the prenatal to 3 program. It's so important to have a social network, to consult with, to get support from. And, that is the perfect segue to close this evening's conversations. We really hope that you find this presentation informative and inspiring, and that it will lead to more awareness of your own parenting style, because parenting is the hardest thing in the world and it cannot be done in isolation. Remember that you have a Montessori village to support you and to offer support to. No one person has all the answers. There are no 3 easy steps to fabulous parenting. There is no magic universal formula, and there is no perfect parent. Fortunately, children don't need perfect parents. They just need parents and teachers who show up for them and want to be better every day. Please remember to email your questions if after leaving the Zoom meeting you think of, oh, I should have asked this, or I wonder that. Please email them to me. You have my email address, charo.alarcon@lumen.org. And if I don't have an answer for you, one of our heads of school and experts will be able to answer that for you. Faya, what is the P3 program? Prenatal to 3. It's a home visiting program that Lumen offers for children up to 3 years of age. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. We'll have another Montessori Roundtable in the spring. Good night, everybody. And